Hello and welcome back to my channel. I am so glad you're here. Wow, my voice sounds worse than I thought it did. Like, I haven't really talked that much today because I've just been hanging around and wow. Okay, so I'm sorry about my voice. I'm obviously still sick from my last video, whatever. So, anyways, today I'm going to talk about my favorite celebrity memoirs. So, I absolutely love reading celebrity memoirs, even if I'm not that familiar with the, you know, uh, person that wrote it. I love them. I don't know why. I like getting in the head of celebrities. So, yeah, I just have 10 that I've read and really enjoyed. This is obviously, there's plenty of other ones, and I would love to hear your recommendations if you have any that didn't make this list. So let's just get started. So the first one is like the 2022 favorite, I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. This one is one that I really didn't know much about her before I started reading this. I knew she was on Nickelodeon, and that was kind of it. I mean, I was a little older than the shows that she was on. I had already like graduated from Nickelodeon pretty much, so I really didn't know her. I was absolutely floored by the writing in this book. She writes like an author, not like a celebrity, if that makes sense. Like, you could tell that this was like her soul, and just such a powerful and like appalling memoir. The title itself is like kind of jarring when you just see it, and you really, I mean, it pulls you in because you're like, what are you saying? Why would you be glad about your mom dying? But like, she has pretty good reasons to. And this book was heartbreaking, but I absolutely loved it and I highly recommend it, even if you're like not sure who she is. The next one is kind of niche, so like it might not be everyone's cup of tea, but it is Till the End by CC Sabathia. So if you are not familiar, CC Sabathia is a pitcher former pitcher. He played for the Cleveland Indians, he played for the Milwaukee Brewers, and he played for the New York Yankees. And he won Cy Young Awards, pitching awards, he won a World Series. Like, he's very good at what he does, what he did. So this is kind of about mainly his struggle with alcoholism, and it is just like brutally honest. Like, he does not hold back, and like, I really appreciate that. I mean, I'm originally from Cleveland, so I loved watching him in the early 2000s, and this book meant a lot to me, just kind of seeing what he was struggling with behind the scenes. I mean, I really loved this, and again, I'm not sure exactly, if you don't like know baseball or know him, if it'll have the same effect, but like, I still recommend it because it was just a really interesting and like just candid look at alcoholism and how that affects you differently when you are in the public eye. Next is Over the Top by Jonathan Van Ness. So I feel like it's impossible not to like this man. Like, he is just hilarious and he's so much fun, but he's definitely been through some stuff. So this book was something that I just kind of read in a few hours. I listened to the audiobook, he narrates it, he does amazing. And it's really just about his whole life growing up and like how he kind of became who he is and how he became so confident and self-assured with who he is and being shamelessly himself, which I love that. It's also like hilarious. There's so much funny, quirky little stuff. I mean, if you watch Queer Eye, I mean, it's the same kind of humor. He's just a delight. And he did write another one too, and I read it, but I can't remember the name of it. I will put it somewhere on the screen. So if you want to read that, I read that one and I also loved it. But this was his first one and it was just so good. Okay, so the next one, if you had told me that this would end up being one of like my favorite books of the year, I would tell you that you're crazy, because I just had no idea. But this is Being Henry by Henry Winkler, who played Fonzie on Happy Days. He was on Arrested Development. He was on the show Barry. He's done a lot of TV and movies, and he is just a treasure that we need to protect at all costs. It really tells the story of his whole life. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff about Happy Days, but about how like he never really felt secure in who he was. Even though he was like supposed to be, a heartthrob on the show, he still had so much self-doubt, and he just dealing with egos. And I mean, the way he writes is just so beautiful, and I just absolutely adored this. Even like post Happy Days, the stuff he wrote, I mean, he is just such a genuine good guy. I mean, I absolutely loved him, and after I finished reading this book, I was just telling my husband how much I loved him. He's like, "We gotta watch Barry." I had watched like 2 episodes of it, and oh my gosh, he is incredible in it. It is so good. This book, even if you're just like, okay, yeah, he was on Happy Days, but like, so what? Read it. Like, if you grew up, when Happy Days was on, if you have watched it like on Nick at Night, like I did, you will love this. He is just one of the good ones. One that I also didn't expect to love as much as I did is Coming Home by Brittany Griner. So you've probably heard of her, even if you don't watch the WNBA. She got detained in Russia for having a tiny bit of THC cartridge on her when she entered the country. And so many people had opinions like, what she was subjected to is not acceptable for anyone, but the number of people that were like, well, she did something wrong. So, I mean, it's disproportionate by far. And the way she was treated because of her race and her sexual orientation and her height. I mean, and just her more masculine mannerisms, like she was really not treated well. And when you look at how much she loved Russia, like WNBA players didn't know this, don't actually like make enough money to not work in the off season, so a lot of them go overseas and play basketball there during the WNBA off season. And so she had spent so much time in Russia, and the people in the town that she played for the team, she was adored. And so to see all this happening is just appalling. But she again is so honest about the things that she did. She doesn't make excuses, but she also is like, this is what happened and this is why it's not okay. And I really loved it. It kind of got me super interested too in starting to watch the WNBA, which is something my dad and my sister used to watch a lot. Well, my sister still does, I guess. But one more thing that I feel like I'm interested in watching because of this book, and I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the audiobook. Definitely would recommend that. One that is surprisingly well written is Open Book by Jessica Simpson. Growing up, as a baby of the 80s, so the 90s and early 2000s were like the heyday of my, coolness. Um she was everything. Jessica Simpson, she was a pop princess, and she, was married to Nick Lachey, and they were just everything. And we get all the dirt, and I love that. She again does not hold back. She is so honest, but her writing is so good. And she definitely played a part on the Newlyweds show. If you remember, she kind of had like the dumb blonde stereotype, but like she kept journals throughout her entire childhood, teenhood, like adulthood. She's always journaled. So it really shows in her writing. I don't think she had a ghostwriter. I mean, I guess it's kind of hard to find out, but like, I don't think she did, because but it's still so readable and well written, and like, growing up during the time when she was at the height of fame, I loved this, and it broke my heart, some of the things that she had to deal with in the media. And it's just, I really really loved this. I read this a few years back, and I'm sure things might have changed since then, but it also really good on the gossip. So if you're interested in pop culture, celebrity gossip, yeah, you'll get some. Okay, so another one that is baseball centered, but I still recommend for everyone, this is not the same as the other one, is I Never Had It Made by Jackie Robinson. He wrote this back in the 70s. It was like before he died, obviously. But it was so good, and it's, yes, there's of course a lot of baseball in it, but there's so much other stuff just about like integrating the game. Probably everybody knows this, but I'm not going to assume. Jackie Robinson was the first Black player in Major League Baseball, and to this day, number 42, which is what he wore, is retired on every team. There's also on April 15th is Jackie Robinson Day, the day he made his debut, and every player wears 42, and there's lots of tributes to him and stuff for bringing the game to a new place. And so this was just a really good read about his perspective, how much the game has changed, how much the world has changed, and honestly, even reading this book that was still written like 40-ish years ago, so much has changed since then too. So this is just a really good read. It's a quick read, and I think it will really move you. It really moved me. All right, the next one is, maybe not fully a memoir, but it is on writing by Stephen King. I feel like this is a must read for all Stephen King fans because it is like a really cool way to get into his head and like learn about his process. I mean, this man comes up with some crazy stuff. So getting the chance to kind of get in his head and like figure out, where does this stuff come from? Like, how do you come up with these ideas is really, really cool. In addition, we learned so much about him as a person and how his life events have really translated into his work. And it's so good. Honestly, if you're an aspiring writer, even if you don't read horror, if you're not writing horror, I feel like this is a really good book to read. And if you're a Stephen King fan, obviously you have to. Becoming by Michelle Obama was a book that I absolutely loved. This is like one of the first memoirs that I can remember reading. I, wasn't always such a big reader as I am now. And I remember when this was coming out and I was so excited. I got it for Christmas and I like went through it really quickly, and I just really loved learning her story. She is such an interesting person, and she's so much more than like a first lady. I know that not a lot of people anymore see them as just the wives of presidents, but like she and like learning about her and Barack's love story, it was just so great. I loved learning that like she was his mentor, and when he graduated law school. So like I think that's really cool. And, Barack Obama's memoir, A Promised Land, I did read that as well. It was good, but it was really long and honestly a little bit boring for me, not being a politics-minded person. This one's better. Girls roll, boys roll. So yeah, this, I think it's really worth reading. It's kind of long, but definitely worth the time. And the last one, this might ruffle a few feathers, kind of a controversial opinion, Spare by Prince Harry. I loved it. I thought it was great. I know a lot of people have, went into it with maybe a certain mindset because of how they feel about the royals in general. I feel pretty neutral on the royals. I think that the whole like monarchy complex is gross and weird and shouldn't be a thing. But I also don't really pay attention, so I like don't care that much. And so learning his side of the story, I think that he was right in a lot of his things. He's certainly done problematic things that he's owned up to, and it doesn't make it okay, but I certainly like seeing someone in his position taking accountability for his actions, because a lot of people wouldn't. And I love Meghan. I think that it's unfortunate what these two had to go through, and I love that he, stood by her, and I don't know. I really, really liked this, and hearing some of the stuff, the inner workings of the royal family was interesting too. I definitely have a different view on the whole royal family now, and it's definitely a ride. This one is really, I liked a lot of the like first part and then like the last part. In the middle, we get a lot about his like military time, which is really cool to hear about, but also I don't care about that much. I don't know, just didn't have interest. But it's nice. I mean, you can tell how passionate he is about flying planes and all of that, and it was cool. But overall, I don't know if this would change anyone's mind if they already have a pre-existing opinion on the royals, but I thought it was a good read for someone that just kind of doesn't care that much. So those are my top 10 celebrity memoirs. There's obviously plenty more out there, and tons more of just regular people memoirs that I also love. So let me know if you want to see just a video of my favorite memoirs in general. This was really a fun video to make. I got to like kind of rehash some of my favorites that I haven't read in quite some time, but I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found something new to read on here, and I would love to know what your favorite celebrity memoir is, or let me know what celebrity you wish would write a memoir, because I have quite a few in mind. So if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, I would love it if you would. Hopefully next time you see a new video, I won't sound like this. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!